Welcome back, everyone, to Better Day Podcast, where we are centered around topics related to mental health, substance use recovery, personal growth, and advocacy. I'm here with Leslie.
Hi.
And Anthony.
How do you do?
How you guys doing today?
Wonderful. Traffic today was like light.
It wasn't for me.
Oh, yeah. It was different today. It was like, I just kind of hit the express lane,
Oh, gotta love that.
Like the real express lane, not the,
There's a fake one?
Yeah. The one from SunPass that still takes you about an hour, but today was just amazing today for the traffic. I got to and from safely, no crazy cars on fire and stuff like that.
So you're coming from Miami, right?
Yes, far.
We're coming from the other side.
Yeah. And from north.
Yeah.
Well, welcome back, everybody. If you didn't listen to our podcast last week, I suggest you jump on there and listen to it. Make sure that you are subscribed to it. And today we're going to talk about the digital world. We really want to find some peace in this digital world. We use our phones. I know my phone's connected to me all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So we definitely want to remind you today that, if your phone screen is higher than your bank account, I'm pretty sure you have a problem.
Agreed. Yes.
I'm pretty sure you have a problem. So let's talk about the first thing that comes to my mind. Because when I go home and I start to relax and I pick up that phone, I start to scroll. First thing I see is the reels. And Leslie, I know you do this too.
But oh my God, we work a lot. Sometimes we need a good laugh,
But yeah, social media and our mental health, nothing screams self-care more than like comparing yourself to someone's vacation photos. Why you're sitting in bed eating cereal.
Yeah, someone said it like you're comparing yourself against somebody's highlight reel.
Right.
Yeah, I'll show you everything that goes on behind the scenes. So yeah, that's kind of why I disconnected. What I've done isn't better. I'm very guilty of this. Mm-hmm. I used to scroll through Instagram a lot until I stopped, and then I started YouTube. No better.
Do you use TikTok?
No, I hate TikTok.
Yeah, I do you have it, Leslie?
Unfortunately, I do.
So I purposely do not have TikTok so I don't get lost.
Yeah, my wife, she keeps me up on everything on TikTok. She has TikTok. So yeah,
I do have TikTok. Yeah, there's some good videos though. I mean, you gotta admit it. I mean, whenever I have a chance, I scroll those videos, and they're interesting but you have to sort them out. Mm-hmm. There's good, bad, and ugly. Mm-hmm. There's things that are completely like very superficial, that they're not really worth your time. But it keeps you, the connection and support with, other causes that you might be passionate about. So you have to be selective of what you watch and what you hear.
Right. I mean, it's really an extreme too, if you think about it. Mm-hmm. We pick up our phone for one notification and then open Facebook and we see some influencer's dog and we know all their tricks. Mm-hmm. And we get lost for 3 hours. Then the other side of that is, what you're talking about, Leslie, where you find something that's educational.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes, things pop up and I just skip them automatically. Skip them. And how the world is going, it creates a lot of also anxiety because and misinformation. There's a lot of misinformation and we have a wave of influencers nowadays that they don't even do fact checks. They just want to entertain people. The information that they provide is completely misleading, and then they have millions of followers. I'm like, my goodness, it's blind leading the blind. Right. So it's scary. So sometimes it's a little bit frustrating for me because I read a lot and I travel a lot too. So I see other experiences too in other countries, and when you actually see face to face what other people are struggling with and politics and all that, and then you come here and then sometimes you feel like there is a bunch of misinformation out there and it's hurtful to to our community.
Yeah, I always tell everyone, do not believe everything that you read and see on social media.
Yeah.
Do not.
Don't believe everything you read and see on the news as gospel.
I don't even watch the news.
Yeah, my first understanding. I know we're talking about social media, but the news and it helped me to kind of shatter that idea that social media is your reality. Is back when before there was social media, there was the news, and there was a particular situation that happened with a friend of mine's, and it was actually more than just one. But this particular one, my friend, this is my best friend. Something had happened to him. He was on the news, and what he told me actually happened was different from what was on the news. Because obviously if he told what actually happened on the news, it wouldn't be like the story. It wouldn't help the story.
It
right?
wouldn't be exciting.
I want to say exciting,
Dramatic.
but it's like, yeah, like for example, something happens, bad's happened to you, but they find out, oh, well, why are you there? I'm like, because I was thinking like, why are you there in the first place? Because you live over here. Oh, you were skipping school and you were doing this and you were doing that. Yeah, but that doesn't add to the story. And then the fact is like other details that got left out immediately. So, and I learned early on like, oh, details get missed because it's either they don't contribute to the point that or the narrative that they're trying to tell, or obviously the person's just not going to tell on themselves, and it comes down to what's going on. So
yeah, and that's the same thing with these reels and these TikToks and everything on social media. You don't know what's behind that. I've never made a TikTok. I've never made a reel, but I mean, I've watched some of them how they make them behind the scenes, and they don't look anything like what's actually happening.
Yeah.
They look pretty silly.
There are actually stages, that they're renting spaces where, they have like a plane simulation.
Really?
So that
like
people,
the fake influencer with the fake private jet.
Yeah,
and
they
stuff.
do. I mean, right here in Boca, Meisner Park, they're building something like that. And then people just go there and
a jet
do-
studio.
Yeah. It's a
Oh,
studio.
maybe I
It's
should.
like a
Maybe
studio.
I should do that. Studio, you can come in and
They
change
can
it up
come and
every 6
change-
months.
yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So they're living the high life, and it's not real.
And there's no highlights.
It's not like,
They went to
Yeah.
McDonald's afterwards.
yeah, that's kind of actually why I left Instagram, and I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook. So you can find me on Instagram, find me on Facebook, but I post virtually nothing unless it's for my business. And the reason I went with YouTube instead is because I've actually learned a lot from YouTube. Not saying that it's any better because they have their reels with the I doom scroll through that until I catch myself and I'm like, eh. But I realized also earlier on, and this might be a helpful tip to most people. There's actually a feature on most, if not all, social media platforms where you can curate your content. This goes back to my Facebook days when Facebook used to show me fight videos, and it made me really angry to the point where, and I wasn't happy with being angry because it made me it moved me towards action, but I'm like, this is not my problem. So why am I getting active about? And then it's like, then at the same time, it's like, I don't want to see this because it's a problem you're presenting to me that I can't solve and there's no solution for. So then I realized, oh, you can go in and you can say like, I don't want to see this. And so what I kept doing was doing that, and it would stop showing me that. But then I also realized, and I learned later on, like with the Cambridge Analytica scandal and stuff, they're doing all kind of other active social media things on like social experiments.
Right.
On top of that I just didn't want part of. So I kind of was like, oh, let me go to YouTube where I can actually curate my algorithm, which honestly, yeah, your algorithm is always going to be probably against you, and whatever they program into it is going to take precedence over whatever you do. But at least you become more aware when you do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And if for anyone who's on social media and does not know what he's talking about, so just use Facebook as an example. When you're scrolling through and you see a post on the right-hand corner, there's 3 dots. You click those 3 dots, and there's more there. You can, interested, not interested, hide post, report it. And I use that all the time just for our mental health. Right? Think about it because our phones listen to us 24/7. And Leslie, you know this. We're in the field of medicine. We're in the field of helping people. So not everything is sunshine and roses all day long.
Right.
So if our phone's listening to us, something traumatic, and then later on we sit down on the couch, 8:00 at night,
And it shows a video.
and it
And
shows
says
us
that
related
same
to that
thing.
topic.
Yes.
Right.
And I think that's another thing. I'm maybe somebody will correct me if I'm wrong, but for me, what I feel, that's another reason I left behind Facebook and YouTube. I'm not on there actively most of the time, is because that always tends to be a thing. And I'm like, okay, even if they're not listening to you actively, they're scrubbing your metadata. So, and they're probably using the connection between people that's around you.
Right.
So it's not only that, because sometimes there'll be some stuff like my stuff like my wife's on my YouTube channel a lot. This happens to her because I use YouTube a lot.
Okay.
So she'll start seeing things on her feed on her phone that I watch.
Wow.
Let me tell you something.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not only the feeds that you're watching. Sometimes we're like, I'm having a conversation, and then later I pick up my phone,
Right.
and boom, there's something related to what I was speaking about.
With YouTube, that
That
doesn't
is
happen
so
as much
scary.
for me. But Facebook and Instagram, it's uncanny. That's why I don't like it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's uncanny.
And it doesn't have to be open.
Yeah, it doesn't.
It's just, part of your phone nowadays. Whatever new app these Gen Zs are creating, right?
Yeah. So yeah, with YouTube it's less trippy, and then the one other feature I saw that did come up was if I search a particular thing and then I go through the stories, it'll I don't know if this is a premium feature or regular, because I have YouTube Premium. That's how bad it is for me right now. I hate ads too. That's another thing. I hate ads.
Oh, I don't like them
I
either.
can't stand them. So but if you're scrolling, and like I said, if I look up like Escalade CTSV, whatever, I'm looking up stuff on that car or that truck or whatever,
Right.
and I'm scrolling down, it'll take me off of that. Like, so it like by like the fourth reel down, it'll be something else, but then it'll pop up with a flag saying, "Do you want to stay on topic?" At least it asks you, right? But most times you'll realize you'll scroll down, they'll just take you off topic and you'll go somewhere else. But at least in that one, it gives you the option to say, "Hey, do you want to go back on topic?" And I'm off topic. Great. Okay, let me get back on.
Right.
Or like, oh, this is interesting. Let me,
Instead of continuing to go down the rabbit hole.
Yeah. So.
Oh man, that studies actually show that excessive, social media use can increase your anxiety, increase your
definitely.
depression. Absolutely.
And addiction.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, with social media, how do you feel about that? Social media in itself is an addiction.
No, it does. It is. And I think, for example, I'll give you a prime example. It gives you anxiety about the future. And for example, I think if you is worrying about the past, worrying about being in the present and worry about the future. And if you're worrying about the future, I think that's anxiety. If you're worrying about the past, I think that's stress. Somebody put it like that.
Depression.
Or
Yeah.
depression, I think.
Yeah, the
Depression is
past.
worry about the past.
And fear of the unknown
Is anxiety
in
for the future. So you're worried about the future, that's anxiety. You worry about the past, that's depression.
And that's actually in the Bible several times.
And you can't control neither.
Correct.
Right. So only thing is to be present. I know that there's like the dumb phone movement where people were going back to having dumb phones.
I don't. You mean because we have smartphones?
Right.
Oh.
So they're going back to having simple phones, and they realize they got rid of all of their anxiety.
That
That's
doesn't
not a bad
surprise-
idea.
Yeah, I thought about it, and I'm like, something I might just do one
I'd
day.
be so bored.
Nah,
We have become like
really.
literally our phones have become an extension of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Like we cannot do anything with our phones. Most of my work is, anything, wherever
your
I go
laptop.
is on my phone.
Oh,
So-
that's true.
Yeah, clients that call, emergencies, everything is on my phone, family, everything.
But
So-
one thing my dad told me, and this is when like cell phones first start popping off, and then I realized like people started getting cell phones, and I'm like, you're a businessman, but it's like I still had to call his office to get him. If he wasn't there, I couldn't get him. Or if like he's not where he's like, I just like being untethered, which is weird.
Yeah, that's great.
Which was when I heard that, I'm like, but if you have something, because there's no like missing an opportunity. If somebody wanted to come find you, they'll come find you. They'll send you an email. They'll leave a voicemail, and then you'll call them back. Or if you had a beeper or pager, whatever. But I'm like, now I really get it. I'm like, oh, being untethered would be great, because that's when I told you earlier about the situation where it's like when sometimes people get so much access to you,
Right.
and it's just like, why? Like, why do you have so much access to me? Why are you saying that? Like you need to be able to kind of parse out relationships that I don't think people do that anymore. Like as much as consider like, giving somebody your personal number before used to be a thing. Now they can just access you anywhere. They can find you anywhere.
Right.
No, that's
So-
not true. Nobody has access to my personal phone. Very few
Well,
people.
yeah.
Now to this one, everybody has access to
Right.
that one.
Right.
But so yeah, That's a thing that I'm like I mentioned at the previous podcast that I'm practicing this year, because I think my time, learning to say no and everything. Funny thing to say about that connection and everything that the phones provide. Like I went with my mom, my sister, and my little nephew to lunch. And my nephew, he's only 11 years old. He's an adorable kid, well behaved and everything. He's on his phone all the time because that's now the culture.
How old did you say he was?
11.
Yeah.
So on his phone.
Yeah,
So
problem
we're
with
eating, right? We're eating, and then he's like, okay, on the phone. And then I said to him, we're having lunch. Can you put your phone away? And he just looked at me and he put it away. I said, you don't answer to the phone unless it's making you money.
No, that's a good thing to teach them.
Or it's an emergency.
Right.
And he looked at me, making money? I was like, yeah, you'll get it one day.
You'll get it.
Right.
Yeah, and maybe that's a good topic for maybe next week, talking about boundaries.
That's a good one.
Because we're speaking about boundaries, even though we're not using that word. After 5 p.m., my list of everyone can get a hold of me to probably 5 people I'm going to answer that phone for. That's a big difference.
Yeah.
Speaking about boundaries, and I think nowadays people forget about good etiquette. Right?
Yes.
And we're not talking only about good manners on the table or the way you approach or the way you talk to people, but good etiquette comes to communication and phone etiquette as well.
Right.
So like if somebody is calling you and texting you past 9 p.m. With nonsense, I feel that sometimes that's disrespectful,
Right.
especially if it's not really close to you, a family member or somebody that has that is given the freedom, to have free access to you.
Right.
I take it like disrespectful. I don't know if you feel it that way.
I do.
I do. I've actually had a recent situation that happened with somebody I work with, and it's nothing. It's not no personal problem, no anything. But I realize it's like a lot of times like for example, I have a 9 to 5. I work with older people, more seasoned. They don't call me after a certain time, and if they do, it's a question. Oh, I'm sorry to bother you. This and that. Whereas younger generation is more like, hey, we need to do this. We need to do this right now. Hey, I got this problem. I need you to solve it. Hey, and it's like it's just text message. It's not how they say it, but then it's like the message just comes through your phone. It's like, hey, how are you doing? How is your day today? And then so it's like. Yeah. I realized that boundary is like was never there, and then until it starts to bother you at a point, and now you're like, oh yeah, here it is. You're getting text messages. It's not like you're on call. Because if it was work, like you call me, I'm at work, I'm getting paid. They don't call you at past 5 o'clock.
Right.
Even at 4:30, most people don't call me at 4:30. So I realize it's a boundary that need to be had, and I think that's what adds to people's stress and anxiety.
Right. And if we don't want to get too much into that if you think about that, boundaries are with yourself too, and with that social media, like we're talking about.
Right.
I don't like to get lost in Facebook reels and things like that. I'll watch the clock. 10 minutes. 10 minutes goes by really fast too. Your sister said.
That is super important. Set the time to avoid excessive scrolling and watching.
And you definitely do that. What would get me though is photography, like photos, pictures. I'll be there all day.
I do like
and tech stuff.
Following accounts that inspire you.
Right.
For that, sometimes I get caught up and I'm like, okay, I've been here too long. I gotta get out of here. Yeah,
inspire you. And what about that dopamine rush?
Right? That stuff.
That dopamine rush, and even in the other way that I'm thinking too, like the comments and the likes, and people who influencers who need those for validation, chasing that online validation.
That's not real.
And exactly, it's not real. I don't think a lot of people understand that, okay, I only have 10 likes, I only have 1,000 followers or 500 followers, and these people have millions. These people do that for a living.
Right.
They even buy followers. So a lot of things that we see there, they're not really true.
Yeah, and the context matters because you have and I learned this through YouTube as well. Like just understanding it, you can have somebody who has 1 million subscribers, and then you can have somebody who has 100,000 supporters, and the person who has 100,000 can actually make just as much, if not more, than the person who has 1 million.
Right.
And there's it's like a whole nother thing about audience capture and stuff like that. Sometimes you end up in an echo chamber.
What's that?
Basically, echo chamber is where you are in a circle of people who echo your same ideas, even if they don't necessarily work in a real life sense. I'm gonna give you an actual definition. That was like my own definition,
Okay.
but like it's basically where you kind of lose sense of reality because everyone around you is echoing exactly what you're saying. They believe in the same sentiment without having to have it stand up in the real world, basically.
Do you think is that they believe in that sentiment, or is because that specific content is trending?
Well, it could be both. See, because what was uncovered with what's going on, with the whole Twitter thing, and I'm no expert, but it seems to be like if there's manipulation behind the scenes of algorithms, then you can artificially make whatever you want to be the case. Be it good or bad, malicious or whatever, for whatever reason. So I'm going to give you the definition as I have it on Google. It says echo chamber, an enclosed space where sound, obviously that's where sound reverberates. And it's an environment in which a person encounters only beliefs or opinions that coincide with their own, so that the existing views are reinforced and alternative ideas are not considered.
So that sounds to me, correct me if I'm wrong, that sounds to me like I would be sitting in a room of some sort with only people who are validating my own ideas. No one's challenging me.
Yes. And they don't have to stand up to either real world or debate or discussion because you do not want debate or discussion.
But remember, with mental health, some people seek for that validation regardless it's
That's true.
honest or not.
Yeah, that's true.
And it puts you
So-
out of touch with reality.
Yeah.
That's what social media can
Wow.
do because, like, for example, let's say we're in this room and we can create an echo chamber in what we believe. Let's say mental health is supreme over everything else, right? We could say that and echo that to each other, and we all believe that, and we only bring ideas in here. And then when we go out to the real world, we have to face the reality of that. Now, when you're online, you don't have to have that because now if somebody then comes in and with a counter idea, we can just attack that person and push them out. That's kind of where we have, like, that's why I think people are more extreme and people are, and this is the other part that's important when it comes to social media and people need to understand, like, people will say things online they will not say to your face.
Oh, absolutely. I've seen that.
Right. So it's very problematic in the sense that people, like, you got to go, like they say, touch grass and talk to people outside. Because I realize a lot of times I would ask people about things that are going on online because I'm aware because of YouTube or whatever, and they're like, "What? What do you even talk about?"
What do they call it? A different reality? How do you call it?
Yeah, it's
Like it's like seriously like science fiction. Like you
Yeah.
create your own virtual world, and you are so comfortable in it because you get validated that you detach yourself from the real world because you don't want to go back to that. And once again, if you're somebody that is vulnerable and then you're going through anxiety, depression, addiction, and all that, you want to be in it. You don't want to get out of there.
Oh, of course.
And then you're gonna fight to, like, some people when they're on therapy, right? And sometimes the therapist might have to challenge the person to be able to face their fears or face sometimes their addiction, right?
Right.
And if some people are so in a way, and this is my experience and my opinion, hard-headed, that they would rather change therapists.
Oh, I've experienced
And
that
that's
before with
exactly
people.
what goes on in the echo chamber that he's talking about.
Yeah, which is really crazy. I've always been, or try to be a person who's like, I'm thought provoking. Like, I like thought, or I used to say this all the time. I learn nothing when I'm right. I learn a lot more when I'm wrong. Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like if I'm and that's, I don't know, maybe it just comes from having like a engineering mindset where, and that's what some people say, oh, you have an engineering brain. But I'm like, hey, it's good to learn and if I'm wrong about something, like I'm gonna give you a prime example, social media. I used to go back through my, like, you remember when Facebook gives you those little things of like things you used to said, you said like 5-6 years ago.
Oh, like a time hop.
Yeah, like like you know, they have friend anniversaries, but then
Yep.
it's like Facebook's like, hey, you said this 5 years ago.
Yes.
You want to repost it? And I'm like, no, that is cringe. That is
I delete it. I'm like, why did I
like,
post that?
Why did I? Yeah, it's like that.
Oh.
You kind of learn and you grow, and you're like, oh, okay, so I learned something new. What I believe now is not what I believed then.
Mm-hmm.
Or I didn't know then.
Right.
And it's the difference, and you allow yourself to grow. That's where it could be a benefit.
Mm-hmm.
But again, if you're in an echo chamber, all you ever believe is what you're told, without, you know, making sure that idea stands up to research or scrutiny.
Mm-hmm.
You know, most people actually go and learn a lot more when they go and try to prove, like, logically, or combat, or like I say, how would you say not combat? I'm saying, like, I'm trying to think.
Are you trying to say, like, when I go and challenge what I'm thinking?
You go challenge their opposition, basically, in idea, not, you know.
When you debate somebody.
How to say again? Yeah, debate. Yes.
Debate. Oh,
yeah. When you go do your research for debate, and then they'll realize, like, wait a minute, everything I knew was wrong, or like, this is not true, based on the facts.
Right. And that could be something as simple as a reel you saw on social media because you thought it was true because it's part of a reel.
I love to talk with people that they have a lot more experience than me.
Right.
Because there's more room for improvement. And actually, you know, I got a lot of mentors back in the day that they were a lot older than me. And I was like, that person's your friend. She could be your mom. She could be your grandma. Like, yeah, but there's so much opportunity to learn. So it's very interesting.
Yeah. You know, self-worth and going online and these likes and these comments, it's a slippery slope. Slippery slope for our mental health.
Yeah.
You just have to be mindful of how to manage the accounts that you follow, content that makes you feel, you know, how they make you feel. If they make you feel uncomfortable, they're too negative. You can block them.
Mm-hmm.
You can, you know, refine your searches and all this stuff. I think there are ways to avoid certain things from, you know, popping up on your screen. Sometimes it's gonna happen, but just, you know, scroll them out so you don't have to go through them. Take breaks. Mm-hmm. But most importantly, and this is what I love about our nonprofit, is that you have to engage in real life activities, real life connections with other people. Because when you are so focused and so vested in social media, you completely detach from your social interactions with real human beings.
Right.
Meet people in real life.
Mm-hmm.
One more thing I want to add is that a lot of times we form in our minds opinions of people based on what we might see. And that's our perception. It could be skewed.
Right.
I'll give you a prime example. So I follow a particular YouTuber who has a group. And it's, you know, it's like business, entrepreneurship, certain ideas. Some things I agree with, some things I don't. But I went to a meetup. And so these people I've been seeing, watching them have conversations and ideas online for a long time inside these boxes on the screen, right?
Right.
Because they only show about this much. So I get there, and it's not to, you know, it's not to denigrate anybody, but it's just like, it's on. I realize how sometimes it could be like impolite. You're staring because you're like, wait a minute, that person's tall. I thought they were shorter. Or you're looking at them like, oh snap, okay, this person's real life. They look different. Like they're either taller or they're shorter or they're just, you know, you're just not expecting it. It's weird because you're like, I look at you on the screen all the time, but then you look different in person. And it's like, it's more meaningful to meet people in person than it is to kind of have a conversation online.
Yeah, absolutely. Like Leslie was saying, part of the nonprofit is connection.
Right.
Always talk about that.
Yeah, being in person, meeting people, going through experiences.
So, and you're also reminding me of, because Leslie, you said, you know, get rid of it, scroll past it. We talked about the 3 dots on, you know, on Facebook. so you don't have to see it. What does that also remind you of? Social media bullying, cyberbullying.
And some in some cases I see that has become very normalized because once again, the drama creates a lot of engagement and followers and views. When there's more drama and I see it happening over and over and over and over, and it's very uncomfortable to see it. And that's sometimes you see people criticize artists or criticize the government figures. It's just so negative, I don't like it, and if we can be a part of the change by not contributing with watching, because I think every time you watch a video, that person gets more clicks or
Yeah, they do something.
Right.
What is that?
It basically, it's like an upvote. Not an upvote really, but it depends on how you interact with it and whatever the metric is. But if you interact, usually I think on YouTube it's likes, not just views, but interactions. Whether you like or dislike it, actually it's the same. So if people, just as much people interact and dislike it versus like it, it's almost all the same kind of, They're getting
I think
reaction.
it would be super positive to your mental health and detach and get a detox from social media here and there.
You will definitely, and this is personal experience from my experience, you will definitely know how much you are attached to that phone. Here's a perfect example that I probably am going to be super embarrassed by telling you. Yesterday, I was putting boxes in the back of my car. I put my phone in it because I couldn't carry everything and didn't want to drop it. Guess what I did? Left it in the back of the car, got in the front, drove down the street, got at a red light, went to pick up my phone. Realized the phone was in the back of the car. And for a split second, I almost stopped to go get it. And then I thought, why?
Yeah.
What do I need this phone for if I'm driving?
Yeah.
Sometimes you have clients that you have to pick up. All depends on the time, though. All depends on the
Depends
time.
on the time, but at the
Yeah,
same time, it really made me think, oh, wow, I've been in the car for 30 seconds.
I have a more embarrassing story as well. So my wife and we talked about like us being on the phone and being intentional. Because I'm not gonna lie, I'm when it comes down to, and I think it's bad for me because I listen to podcasts too. So I could be driving and I don't necessarily look at the phone, but I'm listening.
I do the same.
So the problem is we went to set a timer on how much time or interactions you can do. So I think she said like 24 hours.
Okay.
So for the week, I guess, and then it resets. Do you know? Well, the other part was, I guess in my defense, but so I burned through that in the first day. But in my defense, the TV was connected. So we when it counts as against my timer, when we turn the TV on and I hook it up to my YouTube. So we were watching like a series or whatever on YouTube, and then it's like it burned through all my time. So I had to take it off. But now it made me realize how quick you go through it, and then it locks out your app completely. And I'm like, dang, so I can't listen to podcasts anymore. But then I realized I could probably just go to Spotify, but then I might end up being the same thing, so.
You're trying to get around it.
Yeah, you try to get around it.
And speaking of time, I don't know if you guys have this on your phone, but I have it set up on my phone for every I think it's Friday. I think it's Friday. Every Friday, it will give me a notification of how long I spent on my phone, how long I spent on social media, how long I spent on calls, and the difference between the week before.
Oh, I get it daily.
Oh, you get a
I
day.
get my
I don't
my
want that.
daily comparisons because I don't. I mean, it also depends on sometimes I have to be because I'm doing posts and stuff like that. So
Right.
I do it daily. Yeah. Have you noticed sometimes their accounts, because you can even see the trends of people of how reactive they are to certain things, certain initiatives or events that happen with them in life, and they're prompt to post like very active about stuff. I think that when you are working in a professional field, I would recommend people to have a professional account.
Do you mean like oversharing?
Yes, because I have a personal account and I have a professional account. So on my personal account, very like family really like close friends, like family,
Mhm.
and then my professional account is just for business. It's hard to manage though.
You know, yeah, I think that might be a lot because me personally, I have two accounts. I have my personal and I have my business page, and I don't post on either because then, well, even if I do, it's very like superficial posts, right? I remember we were looking for a therapist, and for some reason I was like, let me just go through their social media. So I went and searched their name and found their social media, and I was like, I think I saw, like, I didn't see nothing crazy, which was good. But then I'm like, you know, it's certain things I'm like, I'm looking for because I'm like, if I'm going to be talking to you about, you know, like life personal, I want to understand who you are as a person, right?
Right.
Well, I think it's important. And I think it's important for everybody to realize it's like, you can't, like, it's important that you are more prudent about what you put up because it can be taken out of context, especially in today's day and age. Primary example, I'm pretty sure it's a bunch of stuff. You look at my social media, crazy stuff I used to post way back whenever I felt the way. But, you know, I was in middle school, high school, whatever, you know, don't judge me, whatever. but no, it's really, it could be really detrimental to your future. Because now if somebody's seeking to know you, they're like, oh, you put this up.
Not only that, have you seen some people, I'm not going to say names, but in a relationship, and then later in a relationship with somebody, I'm like, dude,
Yeah.
that was me.
You know,
Well,
I'm guilty of that too.
I'm guilty. It was subbing. I didn't put like in a relationship, but if I was upset about a relationship, I would post something that was like kind of
Passive aggressive?
Yeah, subbing or you know, like Facebook reminds me of all that terrible stuff. But I never changed my relationship status.
I never changed my relationship
until I got
status
married.
either. I never
changed
put
it when I got
dating,
engaged.
single,
Yeah, no, mine's just single.
engaged or nothing.
Yeah.
No, because when
I don't.
I mean,
care
I don't
either.
judge anybody. You know, everybody's own. But I,
think
don't
you,
know. I don't think
you
I
shouldn't
ever.
unless you get engaged or married, which was what I did because everybody gets a notification.
Oh, they
So
do.
yeah, so if you on Facebook, if you change your status, like because you know you're friends with somebody, well, friends not maybe not so much, but like oh you this person is engaged with that person.
Oh yeah.
So now
I
all
do
of
see
their
that.
friends and your friends. So we did that as a way to announce our engagement without announcing it. But and then when we got married, we switched that over as well. That's the only time I changed that. And I said that in my head because I'm like, other than that, it's like my way of letting you know instead of calling everybody and letting them know, right? But I think a lot of that stuff should be kept private and not for obviously if you don't be a dirtbag. If you're in a relationship,
Right.
like yeah, because I would do that. I was in a relationship and I left my status single, but I wasn't. I would tell somebody if I was, but don't be a dirtbag. But you don't change it every 5 seconds because then you kind of lose credibility when it's like, oh, here this guy go again in another relationship.
I changed my profile pictures.
Oh, I changed that
Yeah,
stuff.
no, like I'm saying profile status.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
saying status as far as like that, but yeah.
So how I look at that is very unhealthy. That's an issue for yourself. If I'm going in and having to change that and seek that and have everybody know, then there's a problem with me that I need to look inward to.
Right. You're looking for that validation.
Let's just spread positivity, kindness, support. I like to do that.
Yeah. So speaking of positivity, support, how can we find peace in this digital world?
Get off of it.
Meditation.
Get off of it.
There's meditation tools. And you know, I think the right balance for everything. There's a right balance for everything.
And setting a timer, that's a good one. Setting a
Right.
timer, looking at how long you're on social media.
Having an accountability partner.
That's a great one.
Somebody who's going to be like, hey, man, get off. So, like, if you have a friend who can say, hey, listen, man, I understand you're going through what you're going through. Come call me instead of posting that. We could talk.
Right.
You know, instead of, you know, the social media ain't where you go to have therapy or address your grievances with people. You know.
And a real big one is unfollow. Unfollow accounts and people that make you feel bad.
In real life, too.
In real life, please. Like,
God, different me. No, this person different.
Yeah. Yeah, don't make it
Make it like, oh, she's different than me. I'm gonna different her too. Like, no.
Yeah. I don't care, okay? It's social media.
Care. I
Right.
just,
You know,
I honestly don't care.
yeah.
Yeah, and remember, above all, social media is not real life. It's really not. It's really not. So get off social media and act like a human.
Yeah.
Sharing for impact. Focus on digital detox, positive engagement, self-growth and learning, intentional consumption.
Yep.
Be mindful. It's a big one.
And change your circle of friends. Yeah, like you said, unfriend people. If you see there's like particular negativity coming out of a particular person, and sometimes they might be going through stuff. If you're close enough, you can reach out to them and, you know, offer up some insight. But if not, I don't want to see that.
Yeah. Even if you don't unfriend them, remember, you can, there's that button.
Time out, I guess. Or
Yeah, you can
take a
time
break.
out or see less of them.
See less or take a break from them.
Or take a break.
Yeah.
There's a take a break. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go home and take a break from a lot of people.
Well, thank you everyone for joining us in this eventful conversation. Thank you, Leslie and Anthony.
Thank you, everyone. Stay connected with us.
Please, and I repeat what Leslie just said, stay connected with us.
Stay connected and touch grass.
Touch grass. Have a good night, everyone.